But part of what I've noticed is that in your youth, you are literally that fire. So envision a fireplace. If you are to build a fire, you start with like this beautiful raging fire flames. You want it to be really, really strong and really, really, grandiosely dangerous. You want to make sure that you're covering, because if those embers fly, it's not a pretty sight. But if you don't stoke that fire, if you don't keep giving it oxygen, if you don't take care of it and tend it, that fire, that ginormous flame will die within seconds. Any of us who've built a fire, we know that to be the case. What we need to do is make sure that we are stoking that fire, keeping it going, taking care of it. And that's when the flames sort of slow down a little bit. And then you end up with these beautiful hot coals, the embers, everything that's there that then you can use in order to cook or have warmth, or then it becomes a useful fire. It's not just a pretty fire. That's how I see youth and age. In our youth, we are activists. We go out there, we shout, we scream, we shake things up because we need to. Without that, you don't have the hot coals if you don't have the flames in the fire. But at some point, we have to transition that energy into those coals and those processes in life where it's like, now I'm no longer an activist, I'm an advocate. Now I'm really looking at bridging the conversation between that anger and that injustice driven point of view to now what do we need to do to actually affect change? And the way I do it, to answer your question, thank you for letting me go into the analogy, but to answer your question, what I do now is making sure that I'm sitting somewhat in this uncomfortable middle of saying, both radical perspectives come from a very, sincere place. But if we remain in that radical perspective, nothing will be done. In fact, it'll only get worse because then there's animosity between the two polar sides. So how do we bring a little bit of calm and sense to make sure that we are listening to both the extreme, anger view of, what is unjust and what is wrong in society, but then also how do we then affect change in a way that we know will serve society as a whole? That's the work I'm doing right now, is trying to sit in that middle to bring, conversations without that anger, that heated animosity. And it is hard work. It is very hard work because it's very, very unwelcome. A lot of people want you to take a side. A lot of people want to feel that they are only heard. And while I do hear them and validate them, I also feel obliged to say, there is also another side of that same coin, and we need to be very realistic of the fact that a coin comes with two sides.